it's current today. I'm filming my June wrap-up. I have been a little absent on the YouTubes lately, though you've probably seen me around on Twitter if you follow me over there. But I dropped my phone in the toilet, so I lost a bunch of footage that I'd already filmed. And then I'm currently using a temporary replacement phone, so I kind of didn't feel like filming, but seeing as it's the end of the month, I thought it's important to at least film my wrap up and haul, and then once I get my new phone, I will go back into regular scheduling. So today we are doing my June wrap up, and that is also the Marvel-A-thon wrap up because the month of June was the Marvel-A-thon. So I technically just succeeded at the Marvel-A-thon, just using every single skip available to me. And not because I didn't have books allocated for every challenge. I just ran out of time and got a bit busy. But I did read a lot, but also a lot of shorter works. So let's go through what I read. So there are 3 phases to Marvel-A-thon, and I'll go through my wrap up in each of the phases. I think there's 6 books in phases 1 and 2. Yes, there are 6 challenges in phases 1 and 2, and I read 5 out of the 6 for each of these phases. And then phase 3 had 9 challenges, and I read 5 out of the 9. So there were 6 challenges I missed, and there are 6 skips available, so I succeeded, I guess. So the first challenge of phase 1 was Iron Man, the first book in a series, and for that I read The Smoke Thieves by Sally Green. This is a YA medieval style fantasy following a cast of characters in the style of Game of Thrones or something like that. I have a review up for this one on my channel. I was mildly disappointed. This was just an average book. It had nothing special in my opinion. It was missing that extra spark. There were quite a few things that bothered me, but overall it was enjoyable, I guess. So I won't go into much detail, but yes, if it interests you, I still would recommend picking it up, but maybe not having the highest of expectations. I'm not sure if I will continue this series or not, depending on the reviews the second book gets, I guess. I should also note that I read a lot of the challenges out of order, so this may not make a lot of sense, but we're just going with it. The next challenge was Hulk, a book with a green cover, and for that I read Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. This is the novella that comes after Wind Witch and before Blood Witch. Blood Witch obviously not having come out yet. This was great. I think it was one of the best novellas I've ever read for actually having a solid plot. And I thought it was amazing. I love Ryber, that's her name. I loved Ryber as a character. She was great fun, and I loved how this fit into the plot of the world and actually gave us information expanding on the world, and it was amazing. I should mention, the Truth Witch series is a young adult fantasy following a world in which it's kind of like ours, but everyone has these witcheries or powers, and Ryber is a Sight Witch. Then for Iron Man 2, an unpopular book, I read The Merry Wives of Windsor by Shakespeare. I enjoyed this. It was probably one of the funniest of Shakespeare I've read so far. But it was Shakespeare, so you know, it was just good. It's fine, as much as there is to say. Then I skipped the challenge for Thor, a book about myth or mythology, while I was reading it, but I didn't finish it, so you'll see that book in the next wrap-up. Then for Captain America, a book set or written in World War II, I read Codename Verity by Elizabeth Vine. This is I read this on audiobook, and this is told through like diary style formats of a couple of girls during World War II. One's a spy and one's a pilot, and it's really, really good. I marathoned this on audiobook on a road trip, and I loved it. It was so good. I would totally recommend this book, and I recommend the audio. The audio was fantastic. Then for the Avengers, a book with multiple perspectives, I read Wind Witch by Susan Dennard. Obviously comes before Sight Witch, but you know, I read them out of order. I didn't read them out of order, I read the challenges out of order. This was great. Again, I think this series just needs something a little bit extra. It's just that little bit off of 5 stars. It's a 5-star series, but each book is just that little bit off of 5 stars. But hopefully, Blood Witch will deliver to its full potential. I found Sight Witch really good. So Anyway, Wind Witch being book 2 in the series, it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend this series. Also, I liked that each of the books so far have been quite self-contained in their plot, even though there's overarching storylines, and we also got to find out a lot more of the mystery in this one. Now we're on to phase 2, and the first book is Iron Man 3, a book that will challenge you, and for this I read Every Exquisite Thing by Cassandra Clare and challenged myself to read it as fast as possible. This is the third novella in the Ghosts of the Shadow Market series, following Anna Lightwood, who is Cecily's daughter from the Infernal Devices. I really enjoyed it. It was sweet and fun, but obviously don't read this series if you don't like Cassandra Clare, because you've kind of got to like it to like it. Then I skipped Dark World, a book that involves siblings. And then for Winter Soldier, a book with a main character that's a villain or an anti-hero, I read People Like Us by Dana Mealy. This is a young adult thriller following our main character Kay, who goes to this posh fancy private school, and one night when her and her friends after a dance are going to jump into the lake as a kind of like a dare, they find a girl who's committed suicide in the lake, and then Kay starts getting emails from this dead girl. This was fantastic, loved it. I did kind of guess the ending decently close to the end, decently with enough time before the end, but it was a good twist and well planned out, I thought. I really enjoyed it. It was great fun. Then for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, which is a book set in the 80s, I read Paper Girls Volume 4 by Brian K. Vaughan. I love this series. It's amazing. A little bit all over the place, but this was a great addition and installment to the series. I'm definitely going to keep on reading this series. I really enjoy them. They're kind of like Stranger Things in space, but with girls. And it's great. Then for Age of Ultron, a book involving an AI, I read Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. I can't remember whether I put a review for this or not. But anyway, this is the sequel to Scythe, and is a YA utopia dystopian in this world where death has basically been eradicated, except for when you are killed by someone who's been given the rights to kill people to keep down the population. Those people are known as Scythes, and this is obviously the sequel, and this involves an AI because of the Thunderhead, which is the cloud that's now become sentient and basically runs the whole world, other than the Scythes. So I really, really enjoyed this. This was amazing. 5-star book. So I read this in like a day and a half, and I loved it. I love the series as a whole. It's amazing. I can't wait for the third one to come out. I'm like ranting and raving about this series. It's so good. And then we have Ant-Man, a book involving a heist or thieves, and for that I read The Thief by Megan Wallen Turner. This is a short novel. It's quite short, and the first one in a series is called The Queen's Thief series. This is very classic, old school YA fantasy, but I really enjoyed it. The narration was really interesting, and the twists and turns were totally unexpected to me. I think I didn't expect them to be in this kind of story. They kind of came out of nowhere, but also felt very real and made sense. It's bizarre, but yes. I really enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to be continuing on with this series. Things have fallen, making weird noises. But yes. Definitely keep an eye out for when I read the rest of this series, because I'm really looking forward to it. Then we move on to phase 3, and I'll just talk about the challenges that I actually completed. So first off, we have Civil War, a book about rivalry or enemies, and for that I read My Favorite Thing is Monsters by Emil Ferris. This is a graphic novel, a huge chunk of a graphic novel told in the best art style. I loved it. And this is the first in a duology, I believe, following this young girl, she's in the 60s, I think, though I'm blanking, and she imagines herself as a monster, like a Penny Dreadful monster, and is going around trying to solve the mystery of her neighbor's apparent suicide. And it's definitely adult, and it's beautiful. Loved it. Can't wait for the second one to come out. I'll be right on top of that because it was amazing. Then for Doctor Strange, a book that involves medicine in some way, I did end up reading 2 graphic novel volumes, volume 6 and 7 of Giant Days by John Allison. I've been reading these over the past couple of months. I really enjoyed these installments. I thought they were fun, and we got back to characters and romantic tendencies that I was enjoying. And this is just a fun slice of life little series following a trio of university students in Britain, and it was just great fun. Great fun. I would definitely be following on with this series. It's not the best literary thing you've ever read, but it's great fun. Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, a book set in or involving space. And for this I read Waking Gods by Sylvain Neuvel, which is the second book in the Themis files. I listened to this on audiobook and greatly enjoyed it. This series follows a near future or very near future, where suddenly this giant robot from outer space is found buried in the earth. And it's way more complicated than that, and it keeps getting more intense with every book. I'm currently listening to book 3, and it is so good. I really enjoy it. Book 2 was amazing and a great follow-up to book 1. The additional characters were great. I felt very sad about the loss of some of the characters, so I was very attached, but overall, great continuation to the series. Then for Thor Ragnarok, a popular book, I read Orange Future by Ichigo Takano, and this is a manga and the continuation to a really popular manga series. This one I felt was a little bit all over the place. The art style didn't break up the sections very well, and I was always confused about what timeline we were in because it kind of followed a couple of timelines. But I did enjoy it overall, and I thought I enjoyed spending time in the world of the original main series. So I don't think I'd super recommend it, but it was fun. Then for Avengers 4, a book I didn't know anything about, I read All Out by Sandra Mitchell, which is an anthology of queer stories across history. And this was amazing. I totally recommend it. One of the best anthologies I've read lately. Each of the stories was independently really good and as a whole worked well together. I totally recommend this anthology. I'm now upset that I didn't buy a physical one, I just borrowed it from the library. But totally recommend this. It was amazing. Go out and read it. Actually, I borrowed an ebook from my library even. So those are all the books I read in the month of June. I obviously had some extra ones on my TBR that I just didn't end up getting to, but I had been reading with my current read for like the past week and a bit. So, thank you for watching. Comment down below if you participated in the Marvel-A-thon. Let me know how you went. And otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.